All right, welcome to the latest episode of the crypto.news show. I am Tony, that is Dorian, and we have a very special guest today, one of the most pioneering American digital artists you will find around these parts. His name is Mike Winkleman, but you know him as Beeple.
Hey, what up?
Welcome to the show.
What
How
up,
are you,
Mike?
Mike?
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me. Excited to get into it. Spill the tea.
Yeah, good to see.
We certainly did
Good.
before we hit record, going back and forth on your work. You're chatting with us from Charleston, a beautiful city. You have your own studio down there. And we were talking about the latest goings on in the crypto space, NFTs and digital art. And it's a topic that Dorian and I love to chat about. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
The topic that we were talking about, the latest news was the not at all grifting scheme that the president of the United States has going on with his own meme coin. People had some thoughts. I had some thoughts. I'm sure Dorian has some thoughts. Not at all a scheme here for
The floor.
people
People don't
to
tune in to listen to.
join him for dinner and only to see the
Yeah,
stock.
people don't tune in to listen to me. The floor is yours, Mike.
No, it's very weird. Yeah, we were talking about that right before. It's very interesting. I don't know, like how out in the open all of it is, and how gray the rules of all these things are. Because it's like, I don't know. It's just to me though. I think sort of more broadly speaking, the meme coin sort of whole ecosystem, I think, is very, very interesting because it feels very bleeding edge in terms of this mix of kind of like art and financialization and technology. And I think if you look at it in a slightly different light, you could look at sort of you could look at it as really kind of this performance art in a way, in terms of there's this kind of communal performance art around the attention that the coin has, and that derives value. And as long as you can sort of like hold that attention, then your coin will continue to have value. But if you lose that attention, then your coin will not have value. So it really, like, I think in a very, kind of bleeding edge way, can be looked at as another sort of like art form and another kind of like way to value like online sort of like performance art in a way. And I think that's, to me, is really kind of super interesting and kind of something I've obviously chronicled a lot with the like everydays.
Is that why, like the play to earn coins, they rally double digits, triple digits sometimes because all this attention is on these games that have like their own unique tokens that players can take advantage of. It's they could buy stuff within the game world that they're in, and there's an airdrop to get people to sign up for the game or something like that. I mean, that's performance art in a way. Like
it is,
interactive.
It is, but it's not effective because at the end of the day, the games aren't fun. The games suck, and they exist to, temporarily sort of like inflate this token, but you wouldn't play this game otherwise if there was no monetary incentive. And so, yeah, it works for a month, and like then it doesn't work and so that's where it's like, doing something that works over a very long period of time is very hard. And so
Yeah.
that's where
I wanted to touch a bit on that financialization part, Mike, is because, you've managed to really hack that. You've managed to accrue value by creating everydays, which are based on your mimetic observations of art. And you're arguably one of the people who are they got the biggest bags in doing that. So if you're looking at the game now and you're looking at art now, where are you seeing those sort of mimetic narratives at? Like, is it Is it like nonstop trolling of like whatever's trending on X? Is it like I wake up today, I bust a nut to Mia Khalifa, I'm gonna do a Mia Khalifa one. Like how do you actually tap into that mimetic, you know, kind of essence is what I'm
I
asking.
love
Like
how like puts a thumbs up. Thumbs up. They
I
I
mean,
think
where do you do where do you mine? Where do you mine your mimetics?
Good word, by the way. I haven't heard
yeah,
that word ever.
it's interesting because there's so many different, like, most of the time, occasionally we're mostly on the same page in terms of the overarching sort of meta of the day. Um, but most of the time, it's so fragmented between so many things. And what actually makes it really hard lately to hone in on what everybody is talking about is that the algorithm is like, as soon as you start like showing interest in a certain topic, then the algorithms are tweaked such that it's like, oh, you're interested in blah 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 thing, well, that's all I'm gonna fucking show you. And then it kind of makes you think like, wait, this is what everybody's talking about. And it's like, well, no, not really. Like, this is just what I'm seeing a ton of now because because I've shown a tiny bit of interest in it, and the algorithm is like, okay, fire hose of fucking, these types of videos or whatever. So it makes it hard to kind of like take a step back. And what I'm trying to do is take a step back and comment on what most people are talking about, not always just sort of like the tiny little specific fucking, rabbit hole that I, fell down that day or whatever. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
can you comment a
weird
little bit on Mike?
way.
Can you comment a little bit about on the sort of your sort of macro on like the social media landscape? Are you noticing like a lot more engagement on X since Elon took over and like kind of Instagram has shadow banned you? Like where are you sort of on the sort of social media matrix now of where you're seeing like engagement and interesting engagement with your fans?
So, yeah, it's definitely, I'm very much kind of like caught in the middle because obviously the crypto sphere is very sort of right leaning and kind of, Republican or whatever. And the artist community and sort of that whole side of things, and many of my, fans from before the kind of like crypto era are completely on the other side, and it's very segmented by the social media networks. Like, I mean, everything on X is very sort of like right leaning, everything on Instagram is very sort of like left leaning. Instagram right now, I think I'm out of it, but I was recently put in a little timeout box because I was bullying Joe Biden. So it's just like, I can post all the fun
Cucked by the
things.
Zuck, man. Cucked by the Zuck, man. Cucked by the Zuck.
Wait, so let me ask you something. What constitute walk us through this narrative because I was unaware. Is it that because you post a lot of naked artwork and he was nude walking around? I saw like art like that, but it's rare that the people make a stink over art
Can I share
because
my screen? I don't know if this will work. Can
you
I?
can, yeah.
Okay, let me try. So this was the piece I can show you in which I was
In
bullying
which you got by the Zuck.
and got
You
kicked
got
by the
cucked by the Zuck.
Zuck. Where is
But
it?
why would Zuck care about that?
It was when it's not
I
Zuck.
think it go. Oh yeah. The Hunter Biden. That one was iconic, man.
So
Hunter
this
Biden
piece
with the pile of
was
blow.
bullying. He had, for context for people who don't know, he had just pardoned his son, like in a move that, again, if
Yeah.
Trump would have done this, it would have been like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Man, I
Obviously,
feel like I would be such good, but I feel like I would be such good buddies with Hunter if I knew him. I know you and Scott would be totally down to party with Hunter. Have you ever met Hunter Biden, Mike?
no, I have not met
You've
Hunter
never met
Biden.
Hunter?
I am not.
Oh my God. I could see you and
Uh,
Scott being like boys with the hunters, but
no, so it's like
Well, I wanna jump in here real quick. I mean, like Trump has pardoned people
oh yeah,
who
no,
were in his
100%.
family. I mean, there
No.
was,
Yeah,
the Kushner family and
it's
whatnot.
it's bullshit both ways, 100%. But again, the
Well, I think that, and this is not me saying this because people who listen to the show and know me know that I'm not a fan of Trump, but I think it's a little different. But Biden did do his pardons because, as a precaution against Trump, because Trump did promise to go after like everyone who he perceived that wronged him. He's a
sure.
petty person. So Biden didn't want to. I mean, believe me, like Hunter Biden is a sleazy guy, but like, and I can't, you know, we can't just dismiss the pettiness of Trump world.
1,000%. 1,000%. To me, all that is kind of water under the bridge. It's more so if I make fun of Biden, I literally get my account put in timeout. You can't
shadow
even find
ban.
my name on
Yeah.
Instagram. I make fun of Trump, no problem.
So
That's
that and how do we know that that happened? Did you get like a notice from Instagram or Meta or whatever?
yeah, I get a notice that it's like that post got removed. And then there was another one that was making fun of, inadvertently making fun of like Zelensky. That got removed. And then it was like, yeah, your account is like, basically, they just come out and tell you that, like, you couldn't, if you searched my name in Instagram, it would not come up. And they basically say, we
Yeah.
will not show your stuff to anybody who's not following you.
But I found you
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
But again, I'm out of it now. It
Oh,
was
okay.
like a I don't know. They don't tell you how long it is, but they came out and said you can't be monetized, you can't be, which I don't have any
Well,
monetization.
I think it's like Meta doesn't know what it wants to be because wasn't it relatively recently they were like, oh, forget about fact checking. Like we don't really care about whether or not posts are factual or not. That's why all these posts about Zuckerberg being a robot and kidnapping children started popping up because, well, if they don't care about facts and they won't care about these posts. I feel like they don't know what they want to be. Now, I would assume that maybe they had an issue with the gun and the cocaine imagery in the artwork because they don't like stuff like that.
It
Yeah, but you know how
specifically,
many people are posting that kind of stuff on Instagram? It makes no sense. Like they're shadow banning people. Like Zuck is now giving testimony now in front of they're trying to break up Meta, right? Like they're saying
Yeah,
they're trying to break down Meta. So, like Zuck has been so opportunistic in why he's banned things and at what time, and now it appears he's trying to be more sort of open to this like radical free speech idea that like X has of like let's invite Alex Jones back, like let's
he's
get
he's
Andrew Tate on, and like yeah, I think for one X is a lot more, it's a lot crazier. They're like, it's almost like the gloves are off. And I agree, Mike. Instagram has kind of become like this bastion of like Taylor Lawrence liberalism. And maybe that's great. Maybe that's not.
but I
Maybe Zuck will kind of go more right wing and move on. But I wanted to get Mike's take a little bit, not on like the current, let's say, Trump climate and whether Trump is gay or not, but like Mike, are you investing in meme coins? Do you own any? Do you have any financial advice for us? We all want to be like Mike. It's like the '90s.
the it's yeah, no, I think, yeah, just to put a pin in it, I'm just sort of like, I would just want to be able to fucking post what I want. If you're a fucking adult, like, I think it's like, I think these things fall into fucking like free speech, that it's like, I don't think they're like so, like, to act like it's like hate speech or like bullying the president of the United States, to me is just like ridiculous. Like, come on, it's criticizing him. Regardless, in terms of the meme coin stuff, no, I'm not invested in any of these meme coins. I am a very cautious, boring, investor, and so just owning Bitcoin and Ethereum and a little Solana is plenty volatility for me. I'm more of like an ETF, set
Plenty of
it and
spice for
forget
you.
it, dude. Yeah. I can't play things where you have to
Yeah.
time it.
How
I
is everything
can't.
going? Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. I'm down bad on, as I told you, retard finder coin, retardio, Gunnar. Like, I'm down bad, dude. I don't even want to go into that. But tell me about Charleston, man. Like, you've had Pepe events. You're opening it up to the community. Like, you're hosting a lot of different, like, community orientated events. Like, how do people get involved, and what's new in Charleston?
Yeah, so just to kind of sort of provide background, we've got a studio here in Charleston that we kind of opened 2 years ago. It was the first kind of like event, and we have every couple months we have kind of a bigger sort of event that it's like 1,000 people sort of like come, and they're all sort of like based on different themes. And last year we did one based on Pepe, which I think is very interesting from, again, a sort of like meme standpoint and a sort of like symbol standpoint, and kind of the idea that this is, to me, sort of the internet's Mickey Mouse, and kind of has this decentralized sort of like character. And I think that the arc of the character, to me, is also fascinating. What I learned is that outside of the Web3 community, people have really not gotten the memo that it is not a hate symbol yet still. And so as we were sort of like reaching
Oh, they're
out,
still going down that, like, Gordon Gunnar. Yeah, that was the whole thing. I
no.
remember that, like, Keke, like the 4chan Pepe, or what was it?
Yeah.
What's the lore around the right wing Pepe? Break down the lore for us on Pepe.
So basically, a quick 2-minute history of Pepe. It was created by Matt Fury in like 2006 or 2005, something like that.
Well, we had on the show. Didn't we have him on the show? Didn't we feature
Matt?
Yeah, we had
Matt Fury?
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. He was Dorian, help me out here. I'm drowning. He was the guy from Pepe that we featured.
We had a Pepe guy. I remember we had a Pepe guy, yeah, a few episodes
Well, was it Matt?
Well, anyway, keep
he does that many interviews.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's all good. Anyway, so he created this character. It became popular, in like weightlifting circles. And there's a really good documentary about it called Feels Good Man, kind of outlines all this. Then it started becoming so popular that like celebrities and people started using it, and then people on 4chan didn't like that, and they're like, okay, we're gonna kind of take this back by posting like the worst shit with it, and make it something they don't want to use or whatever. And so they started posting all this super hateful, racist, blah blah blah. Then it got again sort of like picked up by the right side and sort of like labeled like a hate symbol. Then, and this is like 2016, 2017, 18. Then in Hong Kong in 2019, it became a symbol of like freedom and democracy in Hong Kong, like completely separate.
No kidding. During the protests?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, it became a symbol of like, sort of like democracy over there, like totally separate. And so then it kind of like, at least in my eyes and like a lot of people's eyes, I think, kind of like wiped the slate clean of like, okay, well, obviously it can mean many different things to many different people. And so it's like, I don't with this alt-right, bullshit, interpretation of it or whatever.
Yeah.
And people in the like Web3 community don't either. It's not at all that. And so, it kind of had a bit of a reset. But people, again, outside of the Web3 community, they didn't really get the memo on that whole reset thing. And so it's like we were like reaching out to like museums and like local groups here to be like, oh, we're doing this Pepe Fest thing. And they're like, oh my God, this is like an alt-right, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh. Okay. Yeah. And so then you're in the position of being like, no, it's cool again. And it's like, let's just say that's not the position you want to be in.
Right.
And so then it was like, okay, we're gonna not like. So it's like, which this is one bazillionth of what Matt went through, which I met last year, whatever, and it's like and he's the most nicest, down to earth, timid dude who like created this character that everybody then
They
suddenly
hijacked it.
hijacked it, and it's just like, whoa, what the fuck, like and so
Well, it's like I remember the days of Anonymous when I was watching a documentary with one of the quote unquote founders of Anonymous, and they literally chose the guy mask because it was like the cheapest mask that you could get like anywhere for like under $10, and it was like there was kind of a reason for it. But speaking of like all of these symbols like Pepe and like all of these like symbols, like when you're creating your art, Mike, like how often do you like look at Pepe and like kind of borrow from these symbols in these communities? Like, are you kind of like engaging with them in a way where you're like, yeah, I want to become like sort of a Pepe bro, and then like you just do a bunch of Pepe works? Like, are you looking at like, yeah, other things like other groups and other sort of memes? What other memes?
uh,
Yeah.
I put a lot of like memes and things in the artworks, but I don't really. I feel like they're kind of a step removed from the kind
Hmm.
of like communities and sort of a lot of times. What's funny is a lot of times I'll make fun of something and then people will interpret that like they just don't give a shit. It's like you've
Hmm.
acknowledged the thing, even if you're portraying it in a like negative light. Like I don't care, it's fine. And so I think that's kind of like interesting too. But yeah, it's
Hmm.
not. I don't really feel like I'm necessarily like a part of these communities because many times these communities.
Do you consider yourself a troll?
No, it's not really trying to like troll things. Like it's trying to make something that's like a
I
fun.
satirist.
Yeah, it's just trying to make something that's like kind of like a funny sort of like observation and take. Like I'm not trying to be like, oh, this is gonna fucking piss the lids off or whatever, or fucking make these maggots cry or whatever. It's kind of like, okay, if you're doing that, it's like, what are you doing? Like that's just like, I don't know. It's like I want you to
Yeah. I
ideally look at the artwork and be like, huh, that's interesting, maybe get a laugh from it, but like literally to make something to like piss people off just seems very like immature and like what?
I mean, I really like it when you troll the sort of manosphere, when you troll like people like Andrew Tate. I love those, man. Like when you sort of take a sort of jab at I don't know if you would call it like yeah, the manosphere or the alt right, but like, there is a certain perception of people involved in crypto, and they are sort of overwhelmingly male and things of that nature. But like, how are you seeing like the industry change, whether it's like NFTs or art or crypto? Are you seeing changes where it's becoming like more inclusive? Those spaces are becoming more open for people of color or women, whether it's through your own space in Charleston or just in your travels as a digital artist. Are you noticing any changes in the space?
I don't know. It's a good question. I wouldn't say I've noticed a massive change, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't know. I think
Crypto's very male, bro. Crypto is very male. Like, look at all of us. We're all white males, dude. So it's like,
I don't.
it is what it is, man. You go to these conferences and you see it, and it's just like, it is what it is. The art world is a bit better in that way. Like, you go to Venice, it's like, the art world is a bit more like, yeah, they're a bit more conscious of those things. And we met in Venice at the Biennial, in fact. And, it's a super big difference. I noticed when I go from like a crypto conference to like an art event. And like,
Sure.
maybe it's just, I don't know why. Maybe crypto is just, yeah, I haven't figured that out.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
think. Sorry, go ahead, Mike. I have
No,
an idea.
I don't honestly have like a great answer either.
I think it's because a lot of these guys, they're they're looking for shortcuts, and they spend considerably uh, more time on their computers looking at this type of content
Yeah.
and these types of coins, and they're in the world more than the average woman. And women are going out, they're trying to get promoted, they're going to grad school, they don't have time to sit in front of their computer screens wondering what shit coin is up and that they can cash in on. They're just not doing that. They have lives. Whereas a lot of these guys
Yeah.
they're wasting their time on their phones and in these corners trying to be insiders and trying to make a quick get rich quick scheme.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's mostly it. Is the people, and I think a lot of it derives from who is buying the thing, and it's like whoever is whoever is buying the thing will be designed for.
Right.
So the thing is designed for guys because guys are buying it. If more women were buying shit coins, then they would appeal to women more. Like that's it. And so, yeah, like you said, because it appeals to guys more, then it's gonna look like this. And so,
What about your art though appeals to a wide range of people. And I know a lot of digital artists most definitely look up to you. Do you worry about people trying to mimic you or copy your art and your style or steal from you?
Right click save.
no, I think that's like steal from you. I think people, and this obviously relates kind of to the AI question and sort of that whole thing too. I think that's like the absolute opposite way of thinking about it. If everybody copies you, then you've made a massive dent and a massively provable impact on the art world. You want
Yeah.
everybody to copy you. Like, look at how many people copy, Warhol. Look at how many people copy Picasso. Look at how many people copy Basquiat. Look at how many, like, again, these, because they've changed the view of art, and it's like it obviously hasn't hurt them. Like that's why they
Yeah.
have the lasting power, because they've made this massive impact. So like
Yeah. My favorite quote from Picasso is good artists borrow, great artists steal, baby.
Yeah.
And, and I think it goes into like that virality and everything that, I think great art really achieves. When it comes to that kind of virality though, like what's the secret sauce, Mike? I mean, is it like, I don't want to press you too hard on this question, but like, is it, like Warhol, he had a factory around him, right? Like he was getting all of these ideas from all of these places. And it seems to me that this is what you're doing with Charleston. You're creating a space in order to expose yourself to like not only your ideas and your work. I know Scott is a big part in Charleston too, and everything that you've got going on in terms of engineering for digital art and all of those things. But like, how do you sort of like use that space to sort of level up and become that next Warhol? Is Charleston the sort of factory 2.0? Yeah. What's
I mean,
the how is
we are
that?
trying
It's a secret sauce.
we are trying to do different things with the studio here. We're trying to try out different ideas for how I think museums and exhibition spaces will sort of like function in the future in terms of bringing people together to sort of like experience digital art in different ways and interact in different ways. And the events are all sort of like very, very interactive. The event we just had was a sort of like mixture of like art and gaming. And we had, a Mario Kart tournament and people playing video games. We had a bunch of like interactive sort of like art games. We had a bunch of people like live painting. We had people sort of like entering drawing contests and then sort of like drawing live on like iPads. I was doing my like everyday live. And so all these things kind of like happened throughout the like night. And so and they're all in this sort of, immersive space. And so everybody can see all these things kind of like, happening, and really trying to make something that feels like a mixture of like an art installation, a sort of like, kind of rave party or whatever, and I don't know, like
But are
performance.
you
And
working with commercial
so,
galleries and Milton museums and other institutions? But like, is there a commercial component to it? Are you working with commercial galleries? You mentioned
the
institutions, but
advanced
like, what's the sort of model underneath it?
So the model underneath it is really is sort of just sort of selling these sculptures, these bigger sculptures like Human One, because the events very much do not make any money. They cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, to be quite honest, and like they're completely free. Free drinks for hours at a time, and like yeah, they don't make any money. And so the model is really just has been sort of selling sculptures that are like Human One, and sort of that, kind of pays the bills and allows us to sort of like experiment and do kind of other types of like events. And a lot of the people who have collected the sculptures are people who are not entirely in the sort of like crypto space. They're more kind of like, usually adjacent to it, and people who are traditional collectors as well. And so they're not quite so beholden to the price of Bitcoin at any given minute. And so there's a bit more stability there in terms of the kind of like collector base.
What does the future hold? What do you hope to accomplish next? Are there any other projects you want to explore, or different types of technology that you're experimenting with, like generative art and AI, VR? What?
Yep, yeah. We're definitely experimenting a lot with AI, and I think there's a lot of super interesting things that we've just barely scratched the surface with there. And it's just progressing so fast that yeah, that's been super, super fun. And yeah, we've got a bunch of different sort of like sculptures in the works, and a bunch of ideas for different events that we haven't, that I think are interesting, and utilize the space in a different way. And then yeah, just kind of.
Can you spill the tea a little bit on how you're working with AI, Mike? Like where are you seeing sort of opportunities in art? I mean, I'm such a big fan of Sasha Stiles as well, who and Holly Herndon and Matt Dryhurst, who are all using AI alongside sort of artistic endeavors. Where do you stand on this sort of spectrum? Is AI cultural theft?
No, I think that's ridiculous. I think
Well, why is it ridiculous, people?
because I think it is like the idea that people have that it is not making anything new is not true. I think you can definitely make new things with AI. So that's the first thing. I think people who sort of like are like, it's just remixing ideas that have already happened. It's like, well, what the do you think humans are doing? Like, give me a break. Like, I'm sorry, but like most of the things that we see are not the percentage of new, truly novel ideas that you encounter on a daily basis is shockingly low. Most of the things you see are bits and pieces rearranged into like things. That's why AI is so good at making this because it's actually way more formulaic than you would think. That's why it can write a script of a movie, in 2 seconds, because it's like, well, most movies aren't actually that like original, to be quite honest. Maybe they've got one or two little original things, but they borrow. And even the best people who we would call, visionaries and have truly pushed forward these crafts in many different, mediums, all still borrow ideas and remix ideas from the people who came before. And so, the idea that it can't create new things, I think is ridiculous. And I also think it has pushed forward the bar of what, like, people who be like, oh, this is like the death of creativity. I think that's exactly the opposite. It's you see things now that if you had seen them, 5 years ago or whatever. I see things all the time that if I would have saw them 5 years ago, I would have been like, holy crap, that's amazing. And now I look and it's like, yeah, it's fine. It's like, it's like,
Yeah, it's almost like you have Ooga Booga Man, in the cave there after the first cave painting has been made, and then some asshole makes acrylic paint or oil paint and starts doing shit at a Renaissance level, and Ooga Booga Man is like, oh, too much technology. I fully agree with you, Mike, on the whole AI point, because a lot of people seem to get it wrong. A lot of people look at AI and say, oh my God, Peter Thiel has come to neuter all of us. We're all going to be eating like bugs out of like a soy goop and like it's over for us. But actually, I
Well,
love AI and
I
people
don't
who are
know if
using it.
I don't know if I want to be the contrarian here because I write scripts. It's funny that you mentioned scripts, and I don't write scripts using AI, but I did once as a experiment to see what it would do, and the dialogue was stale. And it does scrape the internet for existing things, but as opposed to when I write, if I think of a joke, I'm like, oh, did I hear that joke from somewhere? And I won't use it because I'm like, oh, I saw that from, some stand-up routine or a sitcom that I really liked. AI doesn't do that. AI doesn't have the ability to be like, oh, we can steal this joke. So it is a license to steal. Whereas if you're talking about the true,
But it's a
brilliant
license to iterate.
film
It's
made
not a
really well.
license to steal. It's a license to iterate though, and that's the point, Anthony, is that like there's so many like variables to iteration. So it's like you can put in as a prompt something completely dumb, like draw me like, I don't know, a Pepe, and you're gonna get the worst Pepe you've ever seen, right? But like if you are
Or I
like
might get a
using
really
it
good
in
Pepe.
ways, well, no, you won't because the prompt was so trash. They call it something in coding. It's like garbage in, garbage out. And like no matter how good the tool is, if you're a loser and your prompts suck, well, like your art sucks, dude, and that's it. And like that's why you got to tap into like bigger zeitgeist, right? Like a bigger, and that's Mike touching back to the everydays and like you've been working every day with the zeitgeist as a matter of form, right? Rather than like AI. And I'm so excited to see what you use AI for because for me, what your artwork, the material that it is, it's not the digital computer, it's the zeitgeist, right? And like that is where you're going to see a lot of interesting art come from. Are
I
you going
think,
to Venice this year? What's coming up for you this year? You got any big shows? You just had the Sotheby's show. Like, what else is coming up for you, Mr. Zeitgeist?
wait, just to circle back on the AI thing, I think it's interesting
Sorry.
because in that sort of scenario, you kind of like put forward, you were sort of like, well, the AI didn't come up with like something good and something interesting, which totally makes sense, and I'm sure it did not. But again, to me, it's like you have to like it's not one or the other, and increasingly it won't be one or the other. It's like it will just be a part of how you write something, where you're kind of like, okay, the core of what you're writing needs to be interesting and different and new and novel, 100%. And but like I think you could do that if you put in a better prompt. If your prompt was just like write me a movie, like then it's like, well, of course that's not going to be like good. But if you were like, okay, here's the idea of like the kernel of an idea I have that is new and interesting, help me fill in all the like beats in between these things. And okay, I'm having trouble sort of like bridging between this idea and this thing. Give me 5 ideas, and probably maybe one of those ideas is good. Or you might need to do that 10 times where you're like, give me 50 ideas. And then you are like, okay, yeah, actually, this is an interesting thing here, but maybe it needs this tweaking and blah, blah, blah. And so many times when I see people criticize AI, they've anthropomorphized it into this thing that's like autonomous, and it's like, well, it doesn't have soul. It's like, of course it doesn't have soul. It's a computer program. What the are you even talking about? Like, no, it doesn't have soul. It's a thing that runs on your computer. You press execute, it runs code, and it gives you back. Like, you have a soul. It's just a fucking tool. Like, it almost reminds me of like the camera argument of like it's stealing our soul or some shit. It's like, it's just a thing that, like, takes light into a film process thing. And
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
I completely agree with you. Has anyone trained AI on your corpus, Mike? Like, have you kind of like fed in like all of your everydays? Like, have you tinkered with it at all? Like, or have any fans tinkered with it that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, people have done stuff like that. I think that to me is also like like this phase we're in where it's like I trained a model to do XYZ is actually not that interesting to me, because to me the analogy I use, it's almost like training a dog to do a trick. You've basically fed in a very small subset of everything, and you've been like, okay, now make new things based on this like small subset of sort of like information I've given you. Versus, to me, the public models, the open source models that were trained on everything, all of like humanity, are actually way more interesting, because it's more like, to me, when you put something in that, it's kind of like my kid saying some that I've taught them. It's like, well, I don't know what the fuck. I asked my kid a question about shit. It's like, well, I don't know what they're going to say, because they've got a much bigger data set, instead of like, ooh, I trained you to do, jump over this thing. And sort of like I fed in a bunch of videos of you jumping over the thing. And so then now you jump over the thing. And so I think, to me, the uses of AI that are most interesting are artworks that could not have existed without AI, that aren't just a shortcut to get something that I could have done. So when you train in a bunch of models, a bunch of images of me, and you're like, now spit out a Beeple. It's like, well, I could just make a Beeple. And so it's like, it's not like that interesting to me. And so like the artwork that we've made with AI is really like looking at AI as like the material itself. And it's a system in which curators and different people can input images, and then it sort of like changes the sort of like sculpture, and it will continue to evolve. And so it's really like almost like a platform for people to interact with AI and sort of like continually sort of like evolve. And so in that way, it could not exist without AI. Like, it's not just AI was a shortcut to making something. It's AI is the system in which this whole artwork even like exists, if that makes sense. And I'll send you some like links, and it can show, because it's been shown sort of like publicly already.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of the fourth plinth, and like the sort of idea of like this very public sculpture where you're able to like in a dynamic way get like live input. And I know that's always been a goal with sort of Human One, was to always have it sort of evolving and adapting. By the way, I saw it in Tokyo, and
Nice.
it was so cool to see it with the Ghibli references pre whatever that ChatGPT Ghibli was. Yeah, pre Ghibli, pre. But it was beautiful to see. Where is it going next? What's going on with you? I mean, you're a busy man. Yeah, what's coming up?
We've got a couple of exhibitions coming up. There will be a piece in at South by Southwest London.
There you go.
In the summer. And Matt and Holly have a piece at that as well. And Hans has an interview sort of like in the same area there. And so I think that'll be interesting. And then this AI piece that I'm talking about will be exhibited this summer as well. And that's not really been announced yet, but it'll be announced pretty soon. Yeah, and so really trying to continue.
Do you have a gallery yet? Are you working with a private gallery? Has Hauser and Wirth swooped you up?
No, the galleries are not.
Why don't you have a commercial gallery? I've always wondered that, Mike.
So I do not believe any of these galleries are interested in this space yet, to be quite honest. Like, I'm not. I think they're still very.
Galleries are pariahs. Galleries are pariahs. They come in there to take. They come in there to take a 40% cut.
I have to say, I'm going to pay Mike a compliment here. I can see a gallery with, sculptures or giant versions of your work being the most fun Instagrammable pieces that people could take pictures of and pose in front of. I mean, you have Katy Perry riding a rocket that looks like Jeff Bezos. You have these wonderful J.D. Vance spoofs and this giant blob creature with a bunch of Trump heads. Like, these things would be so cool in person. I wonder if even that's a possibility in the future. And I don't know. I think it'd be something that would be a hit here in New York City.
Yeah, and we've worked with, just to kind of, be clear, we've worked with galleries before, but they've been on kind of one-off basis. And every time we've done that, it's been a great experience. And so it's like nothing against galleries. It's just in terms of fully kind of diving in and wrapping us, we've not really found something that's sort of, a good fit there. I don't think yet. But it will come eventually. And so it's to me, it is what it is. And I think I don't we have got a very close relationship with our collectors. And I think part of that is because of the necessity of how these sculptures work. They're changing, they're evolving. It's more like a piece of software. So if it was just sort of it's not like a painting where it's well, have fun with that. That's that. And it's sort of that's not that. And so, and I think increasingly digital art will be more dynamic and interactive and, making full use of the medium's potential in a way that, you just can't do with a bronze sculpture. A bronze sculpture is a bronze sculpture. That it is what it is. Versus with digital art, it can change, it can adapt, it can, say many different things. And so we're trying to kind of figure out, or what are those interesting ways to, have them be interactive in a sort of gallery space. And that's where it's very nice to have the studio here, because we can try things out and have people in and see how they interact with stuff, and in a space that looks, to be quite honest, very similar to what a gallery would look like.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm excited to see all the developments with the AI and everything you've got going on. Keep up the great work.
Yeah,
Mike Winkleman, Beeple.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for being with us on the crypto.news show.
But first, before you go, tell us where we can find you and any handles you might have on Insta, x.com, wherever.
We'll link to them all down below.
I think they're all Beeple-ish, something of that nature. Some are Beeple crap, some are Beeple.
Hopefully you don't get shadow banned by the time people listen to this episode and want to find you.
Indeed.
I'm a good boy now.
Babyface turn. Okay.
No more Hunter Biden behind the desk. Tony Montana. Biden. Oh, maybe more of those now that Cheeto Hitler's in office. Thanks a lot.
No, not the Trump boys. No way. They're good boys too. Take care, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.